Hello and welcome everybody from ISPO. This is Claudia Klingelhofer. We're here for Sustainable Challenges and today I'm with Laurent Petit.
Hello Claudia.
Hello Laurent. I'm really happy that I'm here with Laurent. Now we dive deep into how to engage consumers for sustainable causes and make them active. So Laurent, tell us about your story. You founded the app Active Giving. How did it came to that?
Okay, long story or short story?
Oh, I'd like to hear the long story, to be honest.
I think I was always into sports myself. I had the chance to play a lot of sports when I was a kid, but I think back then it was only about fun and being with friends and so on. And I think when I was about in my 20s, I realized also sport is good for my physical and mental well-being. So I started to do a lot of sports and trying to understand like all the data around it. So tracking everything, and this really helped me to develop on a personal level. And then I moved to Berlin a few years back, and then I discovered actually the power of community sports. So I started to run with different groups, and I really liked it. I like this interaction to be with people when you do sports. And then it makes me think like, okay, if there's so much power by bringing people together through sports, would this be an enabler to actually create positive impact? That was just, something that was going through my mind about, I think it was 2019. And then at that time, I actually did a bike tour alone in Europe, and I wanted to raise money for a good cause through that challenge. But, I'm not a star or anything, so it was kind of hard to raise money. And I realized on that journey that, it's sad because there's so many people who might want to help me, but they can't because it's about money and so on. But what if actually people could give me their physical activity instead, and that would create impact? That was the start of the story of Active Giving. I thought, because we're tracking so many of our activities, would it be possible to actually make those fitness or sport data the new currency to do good? So that was, the baseline of my thoughts back then. And then, I realized, why not, let's start. So I started with a few try on Instagram where I thought, okay, people who follow me, why not telling them that if they post an activity they've done, they would tag Active Giving. Back then it was just a name and an Instagram page. And if I would receive this message, I would plant a tree on their behalf. So we started like this, and it kind of got popular, let's say, in Berlin at least. And then I ended up sometime having 250 people tagging Active Giving in the same day, and I had to I had to finance the trees myself. So I thought, okay, this is cool, but maybe we should have our own platform. And in 2019, that's basically where we decided to create a company, a physical or digital product that would become the app of Active Giving, with really the goal to empower people to do good for the planet every time they move. So we have this double mission. On one side, we want people to be more active physically because of the benefits of physical activity, not only on the physical, but also on the mental. And at the same time, we want them to do good for the planet. So that's how we came to Active Giving.
Oh, that's amazing. But sorry, I didn't get it. How does it work? I mean, you have to raise money in the end. Where do you get all this money from? Yeah,
that's a good question. So basically, what we also realized, and especially me, because I also organize different sport events in Berlin, that brands want to be part of it because they like to be there where the community is. They also want to follow the journey of someone who's training. I mean, you see it with marathon and everything, like the brand wants to be there from day one until finish line and even after. So that was the same principle. We want brands to accompany people through the journey of sports, but with this like do good element. So the way it works is that if you're a user, it's free. You download the app on the different stores, you register, create an account, and then if you go out for a run or another workout, basically there's a sponsor matching your activity. It could be from different industry, sport industry, nutrition industry, but basically that's the goal. We offer brands on one side to get this like awareness within our community of active and eco-conscious people. So for them, it's a great platform to be in. And on the other side, as we said, we want to make it as accessible as possible for people so they don't have to pay for it. So that's kind of like the good deal, is that brands get exposure and people can do good for the planet without having to pay for it. But somehow they also have to invest themselves. But it's more like on the effort part. So you give me your effort, your activity, and in exchange, I allow you to contribute to trees planted or other projects.
Ah, that sounds great. Yeah. So staying on the brand side, what would you recommend not only for your app, but in general? I mean, brands want to do good and they want to earn money and they want to even have a community, an engaged community. So there are 3 ingredients they'd like to have. Let's start with the first thing. They want to do good. What would you recommend them?
Yeah. I mean, doing good is also like a broad, I mean, I don't know what would be the best definition, because you could do good in many forms, but for us, we decided that we want to at least now focus on environmental impact. So doing good for the planet, the nature, biodiversity. Again, it's broad, but this is kind of our focus right now. And I mean, brands could also do it without us, right? If you want to support a good cause, you can do it, you can send money, but then you don't really have any engagement through that, you know? And then sometimes people would also think like, okay, they just gave money at the end of the year. Like, okay, what do they really do behind it? And I think what we do great with Active Giving is that because we engage the community, then the brands can directly talk to our users, and then they have to be authentic, you know, they have to be true. And so this is, for me, the core element is that brands need to involve their consumers, their communities into what they do good, whether it's for the planet or for something else. But I think it's really important that you create the message basically with the community. And that's what we do with Active Giving. For instance, it's not just, oh, brand X help us plant X amount of trees. No, it's like with, I don't know, 150 people from this community, because we've done so and so activities over the past 3 months, and we feel great about it. Then the outcome is that on top of that, we've helped this community in this part of the world to plant X amount of trees, and this is good for the nature. So it's like creating a whole story around it, and not just, you know, saying that we've done good, but really like create the story with the community. And I think this is really important, because the community in the end is the driver. I mean, yes, we need the brands, but we need the community. If no one is using Active Giving, no one is running and dedicating their like physical activity to do good, we can't do it. So it starts, you know, with the person who's willing to do good and wants to do it through sports. And I think, you know, also like sports is a great driver for positive change. But yeah, again, you need to enable sporty people or give them the easy tool to do good, right? Because otherwise, maybe you forget about doing it, you don't do it. But with this like engagement app that we have, we try to make it as easy as possible to do good, right? You go for a run, track your run, come back. Oh, thank you. You've helped plant 1 tree. I mean, and this was made possible by brand X. How cool is that? I mean, you know, so that's what we try to do.
That sounds very logic, but on the other hand, lots of brands or retailers, they fail in doing so. So what could go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, this is also why we try to help them. Of course, we don't just put a logo on an app. We talk with them before. We try to understand, like, okay, why would you want to do good with us? Like, what type of good cause do you want to support? What's your kind of like strategy? Do you already know about it? Maybe there's an organization that you supported in the past. Maybe we can include it. Or maybe the brand doesn't know anything about doing good, so we kind of have to start from zero. We kind of do good professional in that way. We want to create like, tailor campaigns for our partners. So if they don't know anything about it, we try to help them in order not to fail, right? But that's why I think, because we engage the community and there's like a kind of like dialogue within the community, it's hard to fail in that way, because they are credible, they are authentic, and there's no surprises. And also we are making sure that the impact is made. So at the end of each campaign, we have reports, certificates that the good has been done, and it's not just like, you know, saying it and not doing it. So I think this is really important as well. And we guarantee that to them. So that's also why I think they come to us, because maybe they don't know, they have to do business as usual, and it's already super complicated. So thinking about doing good, you need some guidance, and then we can be that platform for them as well.
Regardless, Active Giving, but speaking in general, how do you engage with your community? I mean, how do you really get to know what they want?
That's a good question. I mean, like, especially at the beginning of Active Giving, to understand the community, right? I think, because I live in Berlin now, I think in 2019, I probably was at every workout that was happening in the city. I mean, not all of them, but like, I've tried, all the studios, like organizing my own events, like bringing people together, really understanding like, okay, what do they want in the different type of sports? Because I really wanted to, create this app for everyone. And therefore, I've been in this ecosystem now for 5 years, and then I'm able to feel what people want, and also we communicate with our users. I mean, we are at least open, so they can reach out to us. They can tell us, if there is a project they would want to support, or that they think, oh, this should be on the platform, and then we take all those in, and then we try to make the best out of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Can you give us examples about projects?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when we started, we wanted to have like a global impact. I mean, what does it mean, global impact? But we wanted to be able to support projects all around the world, because we also felt like, okay, there might be more need in the south or in different countries. But then our community, for instance, in Germany, they were like, okay, but can we also support like a project in Germany? And we were like, oh yeah, actually it's true. I mean, we also need trees in Germany, or other forms of goods. So we thought, okay, maybe this is time for us to also look at that. So we integrated some new partners from Germany. And then, for instance, in 2 years ago, where the war started with Ukraine, unfortunately, but then we realized, okay, maybe the goal of Active Giving, because it's to do good, maybe we can now also integrate more social causes. So, from that moment on, people could also run or be active and contribute to projects that would support Ukraine. Because the community was asking us, like, okay, right now I feel like I would be more supporting this. Could you, change something? So, of course, we also have to talk to partners at that moment and be like, okay, now from the partner that we have, is anyone interested in supporting a social cause? And then we explain them why. And then, for instance, we also work with Viva Con Agua in Germany, and they are about water, so it's slightly different from trees, but it also solves a great problem. So we have them on the platform, we organize different campaigns, and that also allows us to reach different partners that are maybe more interested in that niche of doing good than trees. I mean, we believe in the power of trees, but it's not granted for everyone. People are maybe skeptical sometimes, so we also want to tell them Active Giving, in the end, it's about doing good in general, whatever definition you have of it in terms of project. So that's why climate, society, we want to solve all those issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just a short question: how many trees have you planted so far?
I mean, I want to make something clear. I'm not the one planting the trees myself, but so basically how it works is that we generate revenues from those campaigns that we do with sponsors, and from those revenues we invest them into tree planting project, right? So we have, I think, 5 key partners at the moment, and basically they are planting the trees for us, right? So if we take all the amount of trees that we've been financing, it's about 1,300,000, and I mean it grows every day, of course, but that's the last number that we had. Yeah.
Wow.
So at the end of each month, we look in our in our app how many people have been active, and so this equals in this amount of trees. So we know, okay, we have to pay for, I don't know, 10,000 trees in Kenya, okay, and then basically we pay the non-profit that takes care of the tree, and then they plant on our behalf those 10,000 trees. That's how it works.
That's impressive. Yeah. So back to the general level, would you say that there are different sports communities act or care differently? I mean, people from the outdoor realm might say they're so connected to nature, so maybe it's more important to them, and maybe, I don't know, just a wild guess, a person that does fitness workouts in Berlin is more connected to social issues. Is this true?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say for sure outdoor sports, winter sports are closer to the environmental topic. because they basically like feel it on a daily basis. So some of our greatest campaign has been with IBU, the International Biathlon Union, for instance, and other former sports. I mean, we also work with Protect the Winters, because the new environmental impact is really important. So definitely the mountains, whether it's summer or winter, this is a big issue. So we are super happy to have them. We also have been approached by more like the sea and the ocean. So we work with Surfrider, because obviously you can also feel it underwater, and also the pollution. So we were more thinking of maybe project connected to pollution. But when it comes to more city, because we're based in Berlin, and it's true the community that we know best is probably also this urban sport community. But then I would say it's a mix of both, because I mean they're also sensitive about the topic. I think someone who would use our app is normally someone who's already a little bit curious. I wouldn't say educated, but at least curious. Okay, I want to do something good. Or can I do it? But to come back to your question, I think the social element is very important. Sometimes it would go first, because people want to care for people first. And this is also a message that we wanted to make clear for people, is that we plant trees, but the reason why we plant trees, of course, is for the benefit that it has on the environment, but also for the benefit of the people who are planting the trees, right? Because we pay people to plant trees, so we empower them, we empower their communities, and so that's a full circle, right? There's social, economical impact on top of the environmental impact from the trees. So whether you use active giving for trees, you have a social impact. So that's kind of how we do it. But we work with many more social focused organizations, and that also works really well. But I think this is more product related. But on the gamified aspect, also what was cool with the tree is that it's really easy to understand. Okay, I run 5K, I plant a tree. You kind of understand directly what you concretely do. And if we say, you raised €1 for this organization, it also has impact, but it's just more difficult to understand. Okay, what they're going to do with the €1, what's the direct impact. So we always wanted to make sure that the metric that we use is not necessarily euros, but more could be kilogram of plastic recycled, it could be clothes donated, it could be tree planted, but that there's this metric where you understand, okay, cool, so I ran and I gave this to that person. We try to be as precise as possible. So for instance, when we plant our trees, we also tell our community, okay, because we've planted so many trees, that's the amount of CO2 that we offset. So for them, they understand, okay, what's my impact, and not just maybe lost in some pockets. So that's super.
Generally, I mean, it sounds rather easy, and if something is rather easy from the company side, it's, I mean, you have to engage your community, and then you can just say, okay, well, what we've done on the social or on the CSR side is we donated X trees. So what would you say about the accusation of greenwashing possibility for companies?
I think for me, greenwashing is really, somehow a hot topic, but also very difficult to draw the line, because at what point do you greenwash, right? And for me, what I think of companies who greenwash is that, they do something good, and then after that they just do business as usual. So if it's a fuel company, they would maybe plant trees, but after that they would keep on, producing fuel. So that's definitely not good. So what we try to make companies understand is that if they want to work with such a platform, then they have to keep on doing good on the long term. So it's not just a one-time thing, although it's also good to do good one time, but it's how can you implement this do good mentality within the core of your business? Right. So, and then at some point people can say, you're greenwashing, and then you're like, no, it's our value now. Sustainability is part of our value, so we're not greenwashing. I mean, it's obviously a little bit more complex than this, but for instance, for us, companies that we work for, they integrated this the report that we give them into the impact report, because they can prove, yes, we planted trees, but again, this is kind of the cherry on top. But how did we get there? We engage our community. We improve mental well-being. People were bonding more with each other. I mean, this whole values that you create on top of the trees really makes or proves that it's not greenwashing, because it was really thought through, and it's going for the long term. But yeah, as I said, there's some you said it, there's some haters out there. Yeah, people would always see first like, okay, that's weird, this company invested into that and then that. But if they have the story that goes, and of course the story needs to be credible, then I mean, why would you prevent even a not so good company to do good, right? Because if that trigger makes them being good on long term, I mean, that's what we all want. And I think also it's not so cool to put the finger on companies that were established already a long time ago, that they have to change like right now. Of course, that's a wish thinking. We wish that all the big brands would now turn into green companies, but we also know it's not possible. So we kind of also need to give them, kudos when they do something good, and not always be like, no, that's not true, or you guys just don't do it right. Yeah, that's my personal opinion. I think people should be, pushed to continue doing good and not just blame because maybe that was not perfect this time. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you're you're an expert in activating community. So what would be your recommendation, generally speaking, for brands, retailers, enterprises to activate the community for the good and for activities as well?
I think they need to have the right message, in a sense, like, or it needs to be consistent, right? So if they want to engage their community, let's say do something good for the planet, then they can't ask their customer to be more mindful of the environment, where they as a company are continuing like degrading the environment, right? So there needs to be an alignment with what you tell me to do, or what you tell me what I should think, and what you actually do as a company. So I think this is also a hard one, because again, in a business there's so many layers. But I don't know, if you're a shoemaker and then you ask people to be more mindful of your consumption, but then on the other side, the product that you use for your shoes are the worst or not environmental friendly, then it doesn't really resonate. And I think many brands have tried this way, like, okay, let's try to send a claim that would make people think they need to be more sustainable, and we're going to pretend that we have one product that's green, but the rest of our collection or the rest of our item is actually you're still using plastic and so on. People realize it directly. I mean, you then understand, okay, that's not aligned with what you said. And I think more and more consumers are, realizing that brands have also this like role in society, responsibility as well. And then, you can't just play with your consumers anymore. Also because there's so many choices out there. I mean, if I don't like a move from a company who tried to do something good, but in the end didn't listen to community, then I might just, go to another brand who has stronger values. So I think this would be my recommendation, that really align what you say and what you do. Because otherwise, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Especially right now, I mean, it's not going to work on the long term. I mean, some companies tries to do this like one shot and think that there will be no repercussion, but quickly, it comes back to you. So, I mean, again, it's probably difficult for a brand that's established since 100 years, but if I were to be a company that starts now, environmental, social responsibility should be at the core of what I do. I mean, ideally, the reason of my business would be to solve one of those problems, but that's just my perspective.
And the other way around, what could an individual do? Mm-hmm. I mean, to connect activity with sustainability. Yeah.
I mean, that's also, the list could be long, but I think there's many easy steps, and that's why, I always say to my community is that there's so many solutions out there already existing. And I think it comes from, we are ignorant, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm also ignorant in a sense, like, there's so many options that we don't know about because we don't necessarily, look for it, right? But it's right in your pocket if you want, especially when you have a smartphone. Everything is on your first smartphone. Then you can also say, but having a smartphone is not good. Okay, but I mean, we are in 21st century, technology is around, so we somehow need to use it. Then you can do green banking, you can do, green sports, you can choose to buy sustainability sports equipment. I mean, you can live in a solar powered house. So many things that you could do with food. You could turn vegan or vegetarian. So I think there's so many like easy things to change, and you go with the bike to work. okay, you start, you like it, you understand, okay, it's positive effect for myself, positive effect for the environment. Okay, what's next? Okay, let's reduce meat. Oh, actually, I think all vegan options are great out there. Maybe I will reduce meat. Okay, and then maybe you influence your family, your friends, and then now your communities turn into more eco-conscious community. I mean, why not? Then you decide, okay, let's go on vacation, but oh, maybe we should take the train. Okay, the train is not that bad. Okay, next time I will take the train as well. So, I mean, it starts with something small, like just change one habit, but then after that you accumulate those habits, and it's even fun. And then you realize people around me want the same, so we can help each other. I give you tips, you give me tips, and then in the end, yeah, we just realize like, okay, my life is better now. I feel better about myself, and my footprint has reduced. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. But obviously, there's always different situation. I mean, if you live in the city, maybe it's easier to go to work. If you live in the countryside and you work in the city, then you might have to use different transport. So sometime, okay, you want to go on holidays, fine, you can take the plane. I'm not banning anything, but it's always about like, okay, how can I find like a good balance? You know, I don't think one or the other extreme is good. Like be super eco-conscious and not doing anything with your life anymore. It would be really sad. But also like be mindful that, yeah, every decision that you take have an impact, and therefore you have all the tools out there to learn about your action and make the best one or the most eco-conscious one, if that's what you want for your life. But I think what I've always tried to do is that I don't have the truth, right? So I'm living my lifestyle because I decided to, and if I can, stimulate people to do the same, that's great. But I'm never going to tell you like what you do is wrong. But maybe I will come to you and say like, oh, did you know that actually you could do that this way? And then you could tell me, oh yeah, I will try. Or you can tell me like, no, I don't want to change my the way I always do things. And then fine. But at least maybe I planted a seed, in your mind, and then maybe after 3 months you'll be like, oh, actually this could be a good idea. And when the occasion comes to you, then you do it, right? I don't think, especially with this topic of sustainability and doing good, you can't pressure people. It has to come from within, because even if people would do good just because they have to, that's not the effect that we want. Because doing good should just be, from the heart. And
And you yourself, I know you even stepped further. You didn't stop at being the founder of Active Giving. So tell us maybe about that, what you do now.
Yeah, so basically doing Active Giving, I realized, okay, what we do is great, and we have one solution amongst many, but there's more problem when it comes to sustainability. So in sports, but also in the life of daily life of people. And for me, I think I really want to help people be better. With Active Giving, it was through sports and physical activity. But I wanted also to understand like, okay, where can I also have a positive impact myself with my job and so on. And so I also was looking at circularity. I mean, again, this is quite a broad topic, but I think the concept is so interesting that there's no resources that goes to waste, right? We can reuse everything in one form or another, right? And I think this is just great. Either it's food, either it's, it could be sports equipment, it could be like anything, but everything goes back in the loop. And I think this is beautiful. So I've joined a company called New Ventures a few months ago. And I'm a venture builder for them. And what we do is that we explore problems connected to waste, and we turn them into digital solution that improve circular economy, right? So it could be anything. It could be e-waste, could be food waste, could be sport waste. But basically, for us, it's really important that the solution that we find solve this waste problem within the big map or concept of circularity. So at the moment, because I was also exploring sports equipment, the fact that we have so many of them, but we don't necessarily use all of them, I was thinking, okay, this could lead to a waste of sports equipment. So how do we recirculate this sport waste in a sense to make it a new resource for someone who needs it? So I've been, actively looking at this declutter idea of putting things that we don't use into the system. And so now I'm working on a stream around declutter, not only for sports, but basically for everything that you own at home that you don't need or you don't use anymore, but that could actually be used by someone else, right? So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, thanks, Laurent, for all your insights, your engaging talk, and yeah, really inspiring. Hope the business is growing with active giving and all your activity and sports and sustainability engagements. And yeah, for everybody out there, thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, share. We would be really happy about that. And besides that, visit us at ISPO Munich.